The Russian Academy of Painting, Sculpture and Architecture. In 1987, Ilya Glazunov, an eminent Russian artist, managed to revive the Russian Academy of Painting, Sculpture and Architecture in its historic Moscow building. The impulse to establish an academy based on the principles of classical art education in Russia came from the persuasion that a school is like a pair of wings, without which the artist's soul cannot soar to the heights of spirit and ingenuity, shared both by Ilya Glazunov himself and by his students and associates, who continue the tradition of the Russian School of Art. The current exhibition is dedicated to the 30th anniversary of the Academy and showcases the fine art paintings of many generations of alumni completed at the end of their study course. A brilliant constellation of painters trained by talented teachers is the pride of modern Russian art.
Almost everyone who teaches at the Academy are artists. Basically, they are those who studied with my father in the portrait studio at the Surikov Institute. Many already graduated from our academy and came back here to teach. This is a path that, in many ways, deprives you of the possibility of creativity. You must give your time, your ideas to the young. It's a path of sacrifice. And those who chose this path, who are from the circle of Ilya Sergeyevich, responded to its call. They're all here.
The Academy's various departments provide education for over 400 students. These are departments of painting, sculpture, architecture, restoration and conservation, art history, as well as the unique faculty of cultural heritage conservation.
We mainly have students from elsewhere. This was the dream of Ilya Sergeyevich, that students can come here from Krasnoyarsk, Ryazan, Pskov. They pass the entrance exams based purely on merit. In these exams, they are given anonymous numbers. We do not look at their faces. Basically, all our students are from Russia. There are a few from Belarus and from Ukraine. We are considering the possibility of admission of foreign students.
Although the students are trained to work in different artistic genres and areas, at some point of their study course, they can choose in which direction they want to focus their further effort, whether portrait, landscape, or historic and religious paintings.
People want art. They want paintings in frames, oil paintings. They want resemblance in portraits. Because the sky today, as 300 years ago, continues rushing onwards in the same way we see the stars and they attract us with something mystical. There are clouds. We admire the falling creases on the harmonious artistic image. Nothing has changed. Therefore, it is necessary to give the artist the foundation that has already been developed and thoroughly painted by the classics long before us. Then the individual, having received this, should flit from our walls already a powerful artist, ready to find his own way, knowing what he needs. A journey which may take a lifetime, but he will have mastery.
In previous centuries, the best European art academies first and foremost taught their students to create complicated, multi-figured compositions on historic or religious subjects. This led to the Academy opening a special studio for historic and religious painting, headed by its acting rector, professor and full member of the Russian Academy of Arts, Ivan Glazunov. Young artists are taught to render the lively movement of figures, build psychological connections between the characters within the painting, organize the space, and master the plein air technique. The students produce paintings based on biblical stories, the subjects of local and world history, mythology, and Russian folk life.
I had my own experience. Maybe it was finding my own way. In this, I was helped by trips to the Russian north. Many artists have sickened for this and still do. It's good because it's hard work, it's long roads and backpacks, but it's a delight to behold the state of nature and the people you meet who are completely different, with their openness and their life stories. All this I subsequently began to share with my students. We had very interesting trips, and perhaps there will be more. I no longer conceive what I'm doing without the theme of the North. Once I took students on a route through abandoned villages. They lived there, worked, painted local people from nature, wandered around the surrounding forests looking for motifs. And of course, for many, I think, I saw this later, the theme of the North took root, turned into a long creative love for these places. It is difficult to say what it entails, but probably the unspoiledness of what you see and the preservation of historical existence, undisturbed by signs of anti-artistic time. Thank God that it was possible to graft this bud.
The landscape studio also continues the traditions of realism laid out in the 19th century. Art students gain priceless experience by attending field trips, both educational and creative, which allow them to hone their skills in the actual places that are significant for the history and culture of Russia. Another studio, that of the portrait, accepts students after their third year. In this studio, they study the classical portrait and its principles. The key success factor for a budding young artist who wants to work in this complex yet fascinating genre lies in the understanding that the classical portrait's impact upon its audience derives from the sum of virtuoso draftsmanship, first-class painting technique, and the psychological insight essential to an artist.
Art should give something to the viewer. So I look at the works of a great master and I think, but I can't do that. I concur with every brushstroke, or, if it's a concert, with every sound. It's there within my soul, as if I wrote it myself, but the Lord did not give me such capabilities. A great man did it for me, and I completely dissolve in it. I accept this. I love it. It's mine. That's when art falls right into the soul and heart of a man. But if this is something dreamt up in yourself, then you will never love a work of art, and it will never become something close, and the sounds of music will only irritate you. So if this is real, it cannot be undone in any way. And if the artist makes such an impression on someone, a viewer at an exhibition, if something plucks a string in their soul, then an act of art has taken place.
Most of the canvases exhibited here are graduation projects. They are simultaneously the last painting of a student and the first creative work of a young master. The Academy's task is to combine the practice of deep personal meaning with the highest standard of professionalism. Traditionally, Academy students choose the topic for their graduation project themselves. It takes them the whole of their 6th year at the school to complete. By that time, they are fully confident in painting from nature, by memory, and from imagination. The 6th year students are preparing to choose an independent artistic direction. Yet whatever their choice, for every one of them, the work on their graduation painting, so closely monitored by their professors, doubtless becomes one of their most enduring and memorable experiences.
Now you can live more with your soul, with your creativity, and with what you are attracted to in history, in modern times, and in world culture. But the school, as it was then, as it was before, and as it should be now, the school is unchanged. It's like ballet, like a conservatoire, like the best classical works, which are not relics, but diamonds of the old world, which have been preserved and which the whole world cherishes. Today, no fewer people go to concerts of classical music or listen to Rachmaninoff and Bach. Classical artists have huge queues. European society misses traditional pictures painted by young people. This is a very important response to the consumer civilization that has taken over the world. Everything has become identical and averaged out. So-called self-expression, despite all its diversity, really standardizes thinking and human abilities. And no matter who tries to spit as many times as possible on a canvas, it still looks approximately the same. But the picture of a classic, by contrast, in every impulse of the soul will be different, whether in color or image, or else the mood is transmitted. It is unique and very individual. Here is the highest sense of self-expression based on a school of art and tradition. Therefore, we are trying to turn out people who love classics, who have passed through classical painting and experienced classical patterns and forms for 6 years of their life. And then they carry it out to the world. This is an enlightening act, because we took the school of art from Europe. We saved it. We want to share the works done within this school, and thanks to this school. We do not hold back graduate students in any way. They themselves choose the topic. They should light up with their idea, but still they have to execute it. They come to this themselves within the tradition of Russian and European art. Then, after the graduation celebrations, they go out into the world. They work a lot where they are in demand, both abroad and in Russia. Our graduates always differ from others in that, whatever they do, they carry a grain, a pearl of the classical school, which always enables them to be professionals, to work as a craftsman at a high technical level, and always carry the testaments of beauty and the covenants of compositional artistic solutions with which they were endowed by the masters of old, and we, today's teachers, need simply pass it on.
The great European artists, especially the great Italians, have always been a shining beacon for the Russian classical school. It was the European school that helped lay the foundations which later developed into the Russian National School. The Russian Academy of Painting, Sculpture and Architecture is known all over Russia. The works of its alumni and students are regularly exhibited in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and other cities. The talents fostered by the Academy are in demand all round the globe, from the Vatican and many European countries to the United States of America.